So Srila Rupa Goswami says that we should always do what? Remember Krishna. Why is that? Well, Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita 8.6. Does anyone know 8.6? Anyone know Bhagavad Gita 8.6? Starts with yam. Yam yam. Anyone who knows it, you can say with me. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam twaja jante kalevaram tam tam evaiti konteya sadatad bhava bhavita. Our Gurukul students used to say that whenever the prasadam was really good. Somebody eating the prasadam, they go yum, and they go yum yum vapi smaran bhavam. Which means whatever we think about at the time of death, that's where we go. Actually, this life that we have has been fashioned by our thoughts and desires and emotions of previous lives. Is anybody perfectly happy with the life they have now? So we would like to fashion our thoughts, feelings, and desires such that we will go to be with Krishna. Does that sound good? Now you would think that after Krishna says yam yam bhapi swaram bhavam, that whatever you think about you become, the next thing he would say is to Arjuna, go to the Himalayas, or maybe go to the bank of Radhakund, or just move into an ashram and become a full-time devotee. Just sit and chant all day. In fact, that's what Arjuna was proposing, wasn't it? Until the 6th chapter, when Krishna said, okay, that's what you want to do? This is what you have to do. You have to sit on deerskin and stare at your nose and forget about Draupadi and Subhadra and just eat the fruits and roots. And then Arjuna's like, oh, Chanchulahimana Krishna, I don't think I can do that. But the next verse, Krishna says, after he says whatever you think about, he says, what's 8.7? Oh, thank you. I bet you this is from your garden. Isn't it?
No, this is from Srinivasa Mataji's garden.
Oh, this is from your garden, Srinivasa. Wow, very nice.
That's my sage.
You know, the highest standard is regional and seasonal. 4th canto, that's the highest standard. Fruits, flowers, regional and seasonal. Anyway, so the next verse, Krishna doesn't say, give up everything. The next verse he says, what does he say in 8.7?
That's my sage.
And what's the whole verse? Mam anusmaram yujitcha. Isn't that weird? Think of me while you're fighting. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to think of him? It's hard, isn't it? Prabhupada writes in 12.2 purport that while we're, cooking or cleaning or reading, or while we're going to the market, we're in samadhi. And if you think about like Astanga Yoga Samadhi, that would be a little dangerous if you were driving in samadhi. Like Shamakarishi didn't even hear Maharaj Pariksit ask for water because he was in samadhi. So imagine you're driving to the market. So how are we going to do this? Well, the secret to this is understanding something about rasa. So we usually use rasa to apply to the relationship we have with Krishna. Like we'll say there's the conjugal rasa, and there's the friendship rasa, and there's the parental rasa. But that's sort of correct. But really, rasa is made of 5 components, and our relationship with Krishna is just one of them. And one of the other components, called the vibhav, is what stimulates our relationship with Krishna. So this is your son, right? So you have a parental relationship with your son. And what stimulates that, seeing your son, seeing your wife take care of your son, seeing your son's shoes, his clothes, his drawings that are maybe up on your refrigerator, his toys. These are all stimulants. You all understand? Yes? So these stimulants are called vibhav. Vibhav has separate categories, alambana and udipana. You don't have to remember any of those Sanskrit words. But what we're looking for here is the udipana. We're looking for something that reminds us of Krishna. Now here's the secret. Everything can remind you of Krishna. Everything can be an udipana. Everything can stimulate your remembrance of Krishna and your relationship with Krishna. In our Krishna Meditations book at the back, we have some quotes from Shastra, our Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. And in one of them, Prabhupada says 3 times that if we do this, there'll be no material world. It says it 3 times. There'll be no material world. There'll be no material world. Now, of course, we'll still have a physical body, and our physical body may get hurt and may get sick and is going to die. And, things will happen in this world that are unpleasant. I'll guarantee that for you. You can take that as a guarantee. If you live for another week, something unpleasant will occur in your life, even if it's only mildly unpleasant. But if we have this mood of everything reminding us of Krishna, we will not experience being in the material world. Does this make sense to everybody? Yes? Even materially, like let's say you're going to take a trip tomorrow to Vrindavan. So you may be sitting here, but you're going to be thinking about when am I leaving in the morning? What am I going to do there? I'm going to go here. I'm going to go there. You won't really be here. You understand? Yes? Or one friend of mine in Auckland, he's getting married in a few days. And so I'm sure that's what I was thinking about. I got to do this for the wedding and that for the wedding. So even when he's someplace else, he's not actually there. So is this okay? Would we like to be here but not here? And have no material world? Is this okay with everybody? Or somebody want to stay in the material? Anybody? No? Okay, we ready? All right. And by the way, at the end, I have a special surprise. So if you wait till the end, you get a special surprise. So we're going to look at chapters 7, 9, 10, and 15. And 7 is very significant because it was in chapter 6 that Krishna is talking to Arjuna. Arjuna kept pushing this. Like, why are you telling me to do Buddha yoga if you want me to fight? It seems contradictory. I don't understand your equivocal instructions. So it was in chapter 6 that Krishna says, well, sit on deerskin, look at your nose, chant Om, put your life air in your Agya chakra, and just eat fruits in the forest. And Arjuna's like freaking out about this. He says, Chanchali Mana Krishna, what if I fail? What's going to happen to me? And Krishna ends chapter 6 with Yogi Namapi Sarvesham Madgaten Antaratana Shadavam Bhajate Yomam Samayutta. The highest yogi is one who thinks of me. And then when Krishna goes on right after that, how to think of him, he goes to these verses. I find this very significant. Krishna doesn't go just to think of me playing my flute in Vrindavan. Now, by the way, why are there so many of these verses in the Bhagavad Gita? Another section of our book is from the Bhagavatam. How can we think of Krishna according to the descriptions in the 2nd and 8th canto, like that the ocean is his waist and things like that? Why are they there? Because we are naturally going to think about whatever our sensory perception is. I'm going to think about the things I see and the things I hear and I smell and I taste and I touch, right? So if those things act as remembrance of Krishna, then I am always in Krishna consciousness. So as we go through this, I'd like to ask you to make some notes. You can actually write it down on a paper or your phone, and to try to pick 1, 2, or 3 things that you're going to, of this presentation, that you're going to focus on in the next week. And then I'm going to ask at the end for volunteers to say at least one of the things that they're going to focus on. So I'd like you to pick 1, 2, or 3. All right? Everybody ready? Yes? You okay?
Yeah.
Trying to make some more room? So I'm Om. And this Krishna says 3 times that he is Om. So of course the creation was made from Om. That was the original sound. And even the scientists say that even solid matter is not really fully solid. The atoms, the molecules are moving. And wherever there's movement, there is vibration. So this vibration Om is actually pervading everything. But Krishna says he's not only Om, he is all sounds. There's one lecture where Srila Prabhupada says, if you don't want to chant Hare Krishna, you can meditate as Krishna in all the sounds. I hear the children. What is that, a motor? The heat pump. You don't hear much sounds from the cars. A little bit from the wind. This is an interesting one to meditate on. I find it kind of intellectually challenging, which is something I enjoy. So to be hearing different sounds and meditating, how are these sounds actually Krishna? How is this sound Krishna? How is this sound Krishna? How is this sound Krishna? I find this one a lot of fun. Krishna says, I am the seed. This is something he said 3 times. I am the seed. So of course, bhakti is compared to a seed. The guru plants the seed of bhakti in the heart. We water it by hearing and chanting, and gradually it comes to the lotus feet of the Lord, where it produces flowers and fruits. And Krishna is righteous romance. So whenever we see loving married couples who are raising their children with affection and care, that is Krishna. The strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. When we're using our strength to protect others, to care for others, rather to exploit them. When other people are using their strength in that way, that is Krishna. I am the heat in fire. So can we become aware of the heat in this room? And if there was no heat in this room, we would all die. So can we feel the warmth in this room? The warmth coming from our body? So I heard one scientist say that the universe is a cold, impersonal machine. It's not a fact. The world is full of heat. So warmth means something is alive, isn't it? When someone dies, their body becomes cold. Warmth indicates love. We talk about a warm embrace, yes? When we become aware of the heat in our environment, that is Krishna, full of life and full of love. The original fragrance of the earth. One lecture, Srila Prabhupada said that even if you don't study the scripture and you don't have a guru, you can find God in the fragrance of a flower. Once a devotee gave Srila Prabhupada a jasmine, mogra jasmine, and Prabhupada was smelling it, and he said, this is Krishna. And how amazing, the same light, the same dirt, the same water, yes? All these different fragrances. There's gardenia, there's rose, there's jasmine. How do they all grow from the same? How does Krishna do that? How does he do that? How is he extracting these fragrances from the same dirt, and the same sun, and the same water? The penances of the ascetics. So what is penance? At its most basic level, penance is wanting to put back in balance when we've done something wrong. So the simplest kind of penance is an apology, a genuine apology, but that's difficult, isn't it? Is a genuine apology difficult? Some months ago on social media, one devotee wrote, my superiors have asked me to write a genuine apology. So if any of you are so sensitive that you felt offended by what I wrote previously, I am so sorry for that. And I wrote him, I said, I don't think that's a genuine apology. A genuine apology is when you really, you confront your false ego, isn't it? Yes? And the ascetics, these are people who dedicate their lives to putting everything back in balance. And whenever we are doing that, that is Krishna. What particularly fascinates me here is you may be familiar with the Chaturshloki in the Bhagavatam. When the Lord is speaking to Lord Brahma, the basic 4 verses in the 2nd canto, upon which the whole rest of the Bhagavatam is based. So right before that, Krishna says, in 2.9.23, he says, Tapo me hridayam sakshat. Penance is directly my heart. Then he says, Atmaham tapaso. Atmaham would be like myself. Atmaham. Atmaham tapaso. My very self is penance. It's actually an incredible statement because Krishna doesn't have to do penance for anything. Yes, of course, sometimes Srimati Radharani asks him to do penance. Sometimes Mother Yasoda asks him to do penance. And that's his lila. But this giving up of the false ego, this accepting of humility, this putting things back in balance and righting a wrong is actually the most difficult austerity to do, isn't it? Practically anyone can fast for a day or sit down and chant a lot of japa or something like that. But to do real penance, and that is in Krishna's heart, the life of all that lives. So I'd like us to right now become aware of our aliveness. Can you become aware of how you feel alive? That sense of being alive. And then to become aware that everyone else in this room also has that aliveness. And not only us, all the plants, all the animals, the insects, the birds, the world is full of aliveness. And that is Krishna. The intelligence of the intelligent. So all of us have some intelligence. And sometimes we do things that are really smart, isn't it? I remember when I was 10 years old and I was going to do a puppet show for my class. And I wanted to have 3 puppets. And I couldn't figure out because I only have 2 hands, what was I going to do for the 3rd puppet? And then I figured out something I could do with my toes and a string. And I was like, whoa, that was smart. Still remember that puppet. You know that feeling, right? You figure something out and you're like, wow, that was smart. That's Krishna. The prowess of powerful people, their tejaha, their shakti, their ability to do something is Krishna. The light of the sun. Krishna also says this 3 times. So what does the sunlight give us? It gives us certainty, it gives us knowledge, right? It takes away our fear in the dark. It brings forth life. The light of the moon, soothing, cooling, yeah? Guiding us in the dark nights. Our ability. This is an easy one to meditate on because we're always using some ability. Right now, each of us have the ability to sit, to see, to hear. You can try moving your fingers or your toes. And how are you doing that? How do I do that? How do I do that? It's mysterious, isn't it? I just think, move, and it moves. That's Krishna. We're always using some ability, and the people around us are always using some ability. And of course, sometimes people have extraordinary ability, and that's Krishna. This is one Srila Prabhupada talks a lot about. So how many of you here have water with you? Anybody have water with you? Anyone who has water with you, can you get out your water? Okay, can we taste a little bit of our water? You have some very pure water here in New Zealand, don't you? Went to Otaki the other day and they were saying you could drink that river water. Yeah, extraordinary. Especially if it's a hot day and you're working really hard. Do you have any hot days here? 4 people yesterday told me it was hot. 4 different people yesterday said to me, it's really hot. And I'm thinking, I just come from Indonesia where it was actually hot, Like in Bali, you turn off the AC and in 2 minutes you're just like drip. Everybody's doing this all the time. But anyway, like on a hot day when you're working really hard and you drink that water. Of course, Prabhupada says this rasoham apsukonteya is any liquid. Orange juice, mango juice. That rasa, that taste of liquid, that's Krishna. So that's chapter 7, sorry. Now we're going on to chapter 9. Do you like those clouds moving on the battlefield? Yeah, look at that. Not all my slides are that fancy, though. But I am going to have something special at the end that's really fancy. If you can be good that long. What do you think? You're not sure. You're going to work on it. All right. So I'm the ritual, I'm the kratu. In our lives, we have so many rituals. It's like when I go visit our oldest son's house. So he has a dishwashing machine, and he will not put anything wooden in there, and he will not put in any glass items that have like paint on them. You know, it's painting the different measurements. He says that they'll be ruined. And then when we take things out of the dishwasher, the plates go over here, the cups go over here. And I visit our youngest son's house, and he does put wood and glass with paint on it in the washing machine. He says, if we're meant to have it, we're going to have it. And his plates go over here, and the cups go over here. They have different rituals. And these rituals are indicative of the way they like things to be done. So all these rituals that we have in spiritual life, they're indicative of Krishna's desire. Krishna being non-different from his desire, they're Krishna. And he is the yajna. So yajnas are made up of different rituals. A yajna is actually a ceremony to connect with the divine. So even in ordinary life, we have so many ceremonies of connection, right? Like if I want to connect with our daughter, so I have to do a ceremony. I have to get out, where's my phone? Somewhere around here. So I have to get out my phone, and then it has to be charged, and it has to be on a network, and I have to get the right number. If I get one number wrong, it won't work, right? I have to get the right timing. If I call her when it's 1 a.m, her time, I won't make a good connection. Not though, why are you calling me at 1 a.m? So we have in the yajnas, there's ceremonies of connection. And you know, different people want to be connected with in different ways. Some people want you to see them face to face. Some people want you to call them. Some people want voice texts. Some people want text. Some people want on WhatsApp. Some people on Messenger. Some people on SMS. Some people on Telegram, right? So Krishna has his ways of wanting us to connect with him. And again, these ways are indicative of his desire, and therefore they are also him. He's the offering to the ancestors. So Krishna likes it when we respect the elders in our family, when we preserve the pious family traditions, and when we do that, Krishna is present. The healing herb. So we all know what it's like when we feel sick and we take some medicine and we feel better. Yeah? And actually in the Bhagavatam section of our book, we talk about how Krishna says that the Bhagavatam says that these drugs and herbs are the hairs on the body of the Lord, and their potency comes from the Lord's breath. And this way, Krishna is the healing herb, right? Even modern pharmaceuticals, mostly they're derived from plants or synthesized chemicals from plants, and that potency is Krishna. So the transcendental chant, so if Krishna is all sounds, certainly he's the sound of his own name. The butter, the fire, and the offering. So not only is he the ritual and the yajna, he's also all the ingredients that go into it. And the Father. So in every religion, they see God as the Father, isn't it? Yes? So all of us have a Father. I hope all of you have good relationships with your Father. Many of you here are fathers. Every day we see so many fathers. And if you can take the ideal of a father, someone who gives the children love, education, support, fun, right? Protection. And you could multiply that millions of times. Have some idea what a loving father is Krishna. Now, not only is he the father, he's also the mother. So mother means our bodies grow inside the body of our mother. Our bodies are nourished by the body of our mother. And similarly, all of us are inside the body of the Lord, like Mother Yasoda looks in the Lord's mouth and she sees all of us inside of him. We are inside the body of the Lord, and we are nourished by the body of the Lord. And just like a mother, so, you know, most mothers, they love their children no matter what, isn't it? Even the child is some heinous criminal. The mother still loves the child, may visit them in prison, whatever. So Krishna is like that. No matter what mistakes we make, no matter how much we're struggling, Krishna always loves us, just like a mother. I am the support. So we have so many supports in our life. Our buildings support us. Our job supports us. Okay? We're supported by our family members, our friends, our community, our government. But all of those can crumble, can't they? Yeah, sometimes they crumble. And Krishna's support never crumbles. He's the grandfather. We're in the Lord's dynasty. Often when you do a yajna and they want to give your family line, they'll say, Achyuta Gotra, you're in Krishna's family. And Prabhupada says the grandfather's more affectionate than the father. So Krishna's very affectionate. And the object of knowledge. I once heard a scientist say that when he studied a little bit of science, he became an atheist. But when he studied a lot of science, he became a theist. The more that we study, the more we have objects of knowledge, the more we see there is Krishna. And of course, studying Krishna directly is the best object of knowledge. The purifiers. So we do many things to purify ourselves. We take a bath, we wash our clothes, we clean our house, we eat healthy food, maybe we take medicines or vitamins, maybe we undergo some physical treatments or psychological therapies. But the real purifying agent in all of these is Krishna. Without Krishna being there, none of these could act to purify us. Oh, and again he says, Om. I am Om. So Om seems very simple. Om, one syllable. How can that be God? Krishna also seems very simple. Look how small he is there on the altar. Shamasundari looks very simple, yeah? Lord Brahma made this mistake. He thought, oh, he's a little boy. And only a little boy. He's eating with his left hand. We know we don't eat with our left hand, right? And it's Krishna eating with, he's got yogurt and fruit and rice in his left hand and his flute, and he's just a little boy walking around, playing with his friends. And they're giving him food like friends give to friends, no ceremony. The cowherd boys are not, ringing a bell. Special plates or something. They just throw it, Hey, Krishna, you want a samosa? Sometimes they say to Krishna, Krishna, there's a monkey. Krishna looks and they grab the samosa and they take out the vegetables and they put jasmine flowers in. And Krishna eats it and goes. And so Lord Brahma is seeing this and he's thinking, it's not God. Same way we might think about Om. What is Om? So simple. How can this be God? I am the goal. Prabhupada says if our mind is not satisfied, that is for want of an ultimate goal. When we're setting goals, working for goals, achieving goals, there is Krishna. I am the sustainer. What sustains us? Air, temperature, water, food. On an emotional level, the love of our family, our friends, our community. Yes? But really, if this is Krishna's energy working through these things, like Arjuna says in the 11th chapter, you are air, you are water, you are fire. Actually, Krishna is the sustainer. I am the master. This is not very popular in 2024. Nobody wants a master. I don't think very many parents say to their children, please grow up and become a good servant. How many of you have ever had a boss that you really liked? They were just like an excellent, excellent boss. How many of you have ever had an excellent boss? That's a good, wow. I think that's the greatest percentage I've ever had when I've asked this. Usually like 2 people raise their hand in a crowd that's 3 times as big. So I've had twice in my life where I worked under a really good boss. And when you have a really good boss, you can just focus on your own work. But they're taking care of their stuff and you can just do your stuff. And you feel like, I don't know, you have this feeling of just protection. So there's this story that I read by this one Christian author. So he was talking about how he and his wife and their 2 young children were going out in the car. And they put their children in their car seats, and they're driving. And they stop at a grocery store. And they park in the parking lot, and the wife gets out and she buys some things, comes back in the car. And they stop at a petrol station and he gets out and he's pumping his own petrol, and then he comes back in. And they stop at a friend's house and the wife gets out and gives her some of the groceries that she bought, gets back in the car, driving on the highway. He was driving too fast. Police siren comes. You know, the lights and the siren, the police officer comes, gives him a ticket, he pays the ticket. They're driving on some more, and then his 3-year-old daughter says, "Daddy, where are we going?" And he thought, wow, we've been in the car almost an hour. And she was just happy in the car seat without knowing where she was going. And from a 3-year-old's perspective, all these other things that have happened, you know, the car stops, mommy gets out, we wait, she gets back in, the car stops again, daddy's doing something funny with the car over there, we stop again and mommy gets out, then we stop again and these lights and this noise and what's this funny man at the window? And she's just peaceful. And he was thinking, she doesn't know where we're going. She doesn't know what's happening, but still she's peaceful because what does she know? Who is driving? Who's driving? I am the witness. So sometimes this is a scary one. Oh, Krishna's the witness. He knows everything I'm doing. It's not like that. So you can do an experiment. Tonight you can go to someone who loves you, who genuinely loves you, and you can say, I'd like to talk to you for 2 hours about everything I did today. Right? After 5 minutes, their mind will start wandering. But Krishna cares. He cares about everything we think, everything we feel, everything we want, everything we do, not only in this life, but from the beginning of time, forever and ever. I am the abode. So how do we feel when we go home, right? Home. I can relax, I can be myself. Actually, Krishna is everywhere, and we can always rest and be authentic with him. This is a nice thing to remember whenever you open the door to your home. And the shelter. So a number of places, one of them is in 321.17 Bhagavatam purport. Srila Prabhupada talks about how Krishna is like an umbrella against the sun or the rain of materialistic life. So every time we use an umbrella, we can think, Krishna is the refuge. And he's the most dear friend. So I hope we all have a good friend, at least one. Yeah, everybody have at least one good friend. So who's a good friend? We feel a sense of equality. I have their back, they have my back. We have fun together, we have a good understanding, a good rapport. And you take that and multiply that infinitely, and that's Krishna. The creation and the annihilation. Both of these are fascinating. We're fascinated by creation and we're fascinated by destruction. Like little babies, right? They build a tower out of blocks, and then what do they do after they built the tower? Break it. Yes, I was reading about this one woman who has her livelihood is breaking block towers. She builds towers out of blocks, like dominoes, you know, kind of thing. And then she just hits one and the whole thing comes down in some artistic way. And she makes a video and people pay to see that. So we're so attracted by creation and destruction because it's Krishna. And the basis of everything. So secularism means that we describe the story of our life or the story of the world without relation to Krishna. But actually Krishna is the basis. Our happiness, our tragedies, our anger, our joy, all of our experiences, actually Krishna is the basis of everything. And the resting place. I really liked finding these pictures. I really like these pictures. This one I think of every time I go to bed at night. I lie in my bed. Krishna's the resting place. Anytime we sit on a bench or a chair or take a break, Krishna is the resting place. And because he's everywhere, I can always rest in him, even in the midst of everything being hectic. Again, he says he's the seeds. Yeah. So we're all eating so many seeds, aren't we? The most basic staple food of almost every society on the planet is seeds. Wheat, rice, now people are eating millet, corn, oats, rye, barley. But to speak of the beans, all the beans are also seeds, all the beans, all the pulses. Many of our spices are also seeds. Why? Because the nutrition of the plant is concentrated in the seed. And seeds are so magical. You know that story of the cobbler, the priest and the cobbler? And where Narada comes and says, I saw Narayana putting an elephant through the eye of a needle. And the cobbler says, oh, Narayana is wonderful. And Narada Muni says, you believe me? They said, yeah, why not? And Narada says, why do you believe me? He said, well, if he can put a huge banyan tree inside of a seed, why can't he put an elephant through the eye of a needle? How amazing are these seeds? When you're eating your rice, when you're eating your chapati, Krishna is the seed. I give heat. So heat makes molecules dance. That's why when you put your wet clothes in the sun, the heat is making the water molecules dance off your clothes into the air. That's why they dry. Or when you're cooking, right? You apply heat and the molecules start to dance. And the textures and the flavors change. The food more liquefies. In the same way, when we see Krishna, we start to dance. And our flavor changes and comes out and our heart melts. I withhold and send forth the rain. You know, sometimes you see a rain cloud and you can see in the distance where it's raining and next to it it's not raining. Yes, do you all see that? When I was like 10, we were driving and I remember this very clearly. On our side of the road it was raining, the other side it wasn't. That line in the middle of the road it was like the rain was just like, okay, I got to stick to my lane, you know. There was no rain on the other side. So when our oldest son was like a year and a half, we were living in an ashram. And there was a sink in the ashram, in the hallway, in the corridor. And so he would get some container and walk over to the sink. And he'd hold up the container. And any devotee that came by, he'd say, water, water, water. And so they'd give him water. So what is a 1-year-old child? What are they going to do with water? You pour it on the ground, and then what would he do with it? Play with it. The devotees would come to me and say, Urmila, why are you giving your child water? I said, I'm not giving him water, you're giving him water. They said, well, he's coming, you know. Water, water. So sometimes Krishna turns on the tap, and sometimes he turns it. I am immortality and also death, so we're all afraid of death. Death is the destruction of this temporary, superficial identity into which we have made a huge investment. We used to have a drama in the early days of ISKCON that we performed at the Sunday feast called The Wrong Bank Account. So you know that you can put money into someone else's account if you know their account number, right? So there was this man, he was working, and every week when he got his paycheck, he would put some of the money in the bank, but he got one number wrong, and so he wasn't putting it into his proper account. And at the end, when he went to retire, there was nothing in his account. So generally in our life, what are we investing our time and energy and care in? To our temporary material identity according to our body and mind. Most people are just doing that. They're not really investing in their real self, in the soul. And therefore death is terrifying, because death means the destruction of all of them. In our past life, we had so many identities. Where is it? Everything we invested. So we may think that death is very scary. But actually, Krishna's death, Srila Prabhupada talks about how the mother cat is carrying the kittens. Yes? And the rat. So for the rat, the cat is death. For the kittens, the mother cat is security and care. So the devotee sees death like that. And beyond death is immortality. Nahanyate hanyamaneshri. We actually don't die. Okay, we've done chapter 7 and 9. Now we're going to look at chapter 10. The beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings, our childhood, our youthfulness, our old age. Of lights I am the sun. Second time Krishna is saying that. Do you know that everything is a manifestation of sunlight? Right? The plants are eating sunlight. Just think about this for a minute. The plants are eating light. And we're eating the plants. And all these things, they're just a transformation of sunlight. Our whole bodies are just transformed sunlight. Isn't that amazing? Among stars, I am the moon. When we see the moon surrounded by stars, when you think about Krishna surrounded by his cowherd boyfriends, or surrounded by his gopis and dancing. Of senses, I am the mind. So often we yogis find the mind to be troublesome. In our career Dharma book, we explain how when we're doing our natural work, our mind is easily our friend. If our mind's regularly our enemy, my dear friends, we are probably doing work that is not our nature. When my mind is acting as my friend, and I'm thinking, feeling, and willing in relationship to Krishna, then I see, oh, Krishna, he's actually the mind, the master of the senses. Rishikesha Rishikena, Sevanam Bhakti Richate. He says he's a living force, consciousness. Can we become aware that we are aware? I am aware of where my toes are. I'm aware of where my ears are. Even with my eyes closed, I have an awareness of how far the room extends to my left and right, ahead of me and behind me. And everyone else in this room is also aware. Actually, this room is full of awareness. And all the living beings in the world are similarly aware. And this sense of awareness that permeates the world, that is Krishna. Of all the Rudras, he is Lord Shiva. So I have a godbrother, he's retired now, but he used to be a physician in the maximum security prison for the criminally insane. Imagine that as your job. So that's what Lord Shiva does in the universe. He takes care of all the demons and the wild people. The bodies of water, I'm the ocean. The ocean is so deep, so broad, and it looks just very simple and homogeneous, but it's full of so many varieties of life. Just like Krishna, he looks so simple, but he's so deep, so vast, and full of so much lila. In the Bhagavatam portion of our book, we talk about how in the Bhagavatam it says the ocean is the waist of Krishna. You know how Krishna's always dancing? So you can see that in the waves in the ocean. And those 3 ripples on his waist, you can see in the movements of the water. Oh, again he says he's Om. Srila Jiva Goswami says, which Prabhupada quotes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that the A is Krishna, the U is Radha, and the the Anushvar, is all of us, the living entities. So he's all yagyas, but especially he is japa. So we talk about how in yagya, you've got to have the right formula, the right time, the right place, everything, or you won't get through. But chanting the holy name is not like that. You can chant silently in your mind, you can chant softly, you can chant loudly. You can chant in Vrindavan, you can chant, Prabhupada would say, in the toilet room. You can chant in your car, you can chant in the bus. You can chant when you're clean, you can chant when you're dirty, you can chant when you're happy, you can chant when you're sad. You can chant at 1 a.m. Anywhere. So therefore it is a supreme way of having a ceremony of connection. Of immovable things, I am the Himalayas, so you don't have any Himalayas here. Of course, you do have a lot of mountains. Bhagavatam says the mountains are the bones of the Lord. But even when you look at your mountains, you can remember the Himalayas, the great mountains that are immovable. Just like Krishna's love for us and his determination to bring us home is immovable. And the banyan trees, you don't have any of those around here either. But most of you, how many of you have seen a real banyan tree? Okay, any of you who grew up in many parts of India. So you can't really tell, where does it begin, where does it end, right? The big ones, not like the ones on the streets of Delhi where they cut all the roots off, but the ones that are really allowed to spread out, and you can't tell where they begin, where they end, they spread everywhere like Krishna. And he's the king. So people are still fascinated by royalty, right? When Queen Elizabeth dies and King Charles is coronated, so many people, I didn't, but so many people were, King Charles. How fascinating must be Krishna. And the lightning. Krishna is the lightning. It grabs the nitrogen from the air and naturally fertilizes the ground. And sometimes in our mind, there's doubts, difficulties, sadness, confusion. And then we get a lightning bolt of understanding that cuts through everything. And it's a weapon that destroys our confusion and ignorance. He's the Surabhi, the cows that give unlimited milk and whatever one desires, like Krishna Eko Bahunamyo Viradati Kaman. There are many reasons that people have children, but of all of those reasons, Krishna says he is Kandarpa. He is the love between the husband and wife. And he is Yamraj. Sometimes we see apparently good people suffer, or bad people enjoy. Life may look like it's unfair, but we know behind everything there is Yamaraj, and everything is ultimately fair. Among subduers, I am time. So we may try to use time, beat time, save time. Sometimes maybe we waste time. Take time. But time is wearing down everything. But if I'm giving everything to Krishna in this moment, 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 I will not be disturbed by the wearing down of time. The lion, when the lion roars, all the animals run away. When Krishna speaks in the Gita, all the atheists and the speculators run away. Well, this is a good one for Wellington. Yeah, I think you guys can meditate on this one all day, every day. God, the wind's so strong here, it probably knocks your cars off the road. You feel the whole car moving. But you know how nice your clothes smell when you put them outside in the wind, right? I was thinking your clothes must dry in an hour here in the wind. A nice fresh smell of the wind, or if you have a musty room and you open the windows and you let the wind come in, that purifying is Krishna. And Parasaram, who gets out corruption from government. Whenever there are people who are getting out corruption from leadership and government, that represents Parasaram. And Krishna says among fishes, he is the Makara. So I haven't seen a Makara. It says Ganga rides in a Makara. There's not really an English translation for that. And Prabhupada will usually say shark, sometimes dolphin, sometimes crocodile, the great, powerful beasts of the sea. The Ganges, Mother Ganga, coming from beyond the universe, the pure spiritual water that comes from Vamandev sticking his toe through the Padanakanir Rajanita Janapavana, sticking his toenail through the coverings of the universe and bringing this great goddess. The beginning, the middle, and the end. The top of your sandwich, the middle of your sandwich, the bottom of your sandwich. The start of your journey, your destination, you're coming home. The start of the project, the culmination of the project, the end of the project. The science of understanding the self. You know, we are wonderful. Like a lot of spiritual people talk about loving yourself, but they don't know who the self is. Do you know our self is wonderful? Srila Prabhupada often says that we have the qualities of God to a minute degree, right? So we have the qualities of God to a small degree, but we're very small, so that's okay. Srila Rupa Goswami writes about how we have 50 of the qualities of God. We're beautiful. We're geniuses. We're effulgent. We're powerful. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 6:20 that once we see ourselves, we think, oh, there's nothing better than this. Says then we never depart from the truth. And we won't be disturbed by anything in the world. So what better science than to understand the self? And Krishna says he is Vada. Vada means discussions where your aim is to find truth. You leave your ego with your shoes, right? Park your ego with the shoes, and you're just interested in truth. That's Krishna. There's also Jalpa. Jalpa is a discussion where you're not interested in truth, you're interested in winning. So I was having an ongoing discussion with one of my friends, and after a few weeks I said, what do you want? She said, I want you to say that I'm right. And that's Jalpa. Then there's Vitanda. Vitanda, you're not looking for truth, you're not trying to be right, you're just trying to make the other person wrong. Do you see a connection with the gunas here? Yeah. So Jalpa, you're trying to be right. Vitanda, you're just trying to defeat the other. And Vada, you're actually looking for truth. And Vada can sometimes just be in sattva. Samvada particularly means, like we have Ramanan Samvada, something that's transcendent. And generally, Vada or Samvada is between guru and disciple, but it can also be between equals. Isn't it wonderful when we have Vada discussions? That's what Krishna is talking about. Machita Magata Pranam, Bodayantas Prasparam, Katyantas Chamam Nityam, Tushyanti Cha, Ramanti Cha. How satisfied we feel in Vada discussions, and how not satisfied we feel in Jalpa and Vitanda, even if we're the ones who started them. So whenever we're in Vada or Samvada, that is Krishna. And of letters, he is Ah, right? You all know this Ah, 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 Ah. It doesn't use the tongue or the lips or the teeth. It is the basic sound. That is the foundation of all language. Inexhaustible time. Our good times come, our good times go. Our bad times come, our bad times go. But Krishna is always there. When we look at our watch, we look at our phone, we look at the clock. Ah, there's Krishna, Kalosmi. I have a good friend who likes to call Krishna the time being. And all devouring death. This is not just the big death, not just death with a big D, lying in a hospice. This is the death of so many things. Our schooling comes to an end, a job comes to an end, a relationship comes to an end, living in a certain residence comes to an end, a project comes to an end. There are so many deaths. Now, the key to seeing Krishna in all of these deaths is to die before dying, to actually be sannyasis. That doesn't mean you have to have a danda. Just like when Bali Maharaj wanted to give everything to Vamandev, and Sukracharya is telling him not to, and then Bali Maharaj says, why don't I give him now, joyfully, everything he's going to take anyway at death? Now, my mother had this philosophy. She gave away pretty much all of her possessions in her last year of life. And she said to me, better to give with a warm hand than a cold hand. If I've actually given everything to Krishna, if I've dedicated everything to Krishna, my education, my job, my relationships, my residences, my project, all this, then when they come to their natural end, I've already given it to Krishna. I've already died before dying. And then there's no sting. This one I really like. This is about the start before the start. So, sometimes we start a new job or a new project or a new hobby or a new relationship, and we realize, oh, this actually started before. It's actually started 3 years ago when I took that trip to that place, or when I read that book, or when you've all had this experience, and you look back and see, actually it started then, but when it started, I didn't know it started. Yes? That start before the start, that's Krishna. Among women, I am famous. So here we have Sita, there's Gandhari, Draupadi, Kunti. When women are famous for their dharma, that is Krishna. Among women, I am Sri. Sri means fortune. It also means splendidness, charisma, beauty. Yes? The world is moving on the beauty of women, I think. Why? Because ultimately that is Krishna. Among women, I am Vak, fine speech. So in Bhagavatam 9.5.7, it says that the Sudarshan is the master of speech. So you have to think about that. Sudarshan is speech. So speech is illuminating. It cuts through ignorance, right? Purifies everything if it's proper speech. And when women have speech like that, that is Krishna. Among women, I am memory. The woman can remember this kid likes this, and this kid likes this, and my husband likes this, and I have this errand. Among women, I am Meda. There's a very famous verse about Mahaprabhu's movement that uses the word Meda. Anyone know that verse? It says, Sumedasa. Anyone who has beautiful Meda, they will join in the Sankirtan movement. In the third verse of Teachings of Queen Kunti, Srila Prabhupada says that generally, sociologically, in any religion, the women outnumber the men. I think here we have about equal today's meeting. And he says, why? Because women have this natural intelligence to accept God, to surrender to God. So this sweet intelligence of women to surrender to God and join the Sankirtan movement, this Meda, that is Krishna. Among women, I am steadfastness. When women are chaste and faithful, that is Krishna. Among women, I am patience. So among you ladies, how many of you ladies are mothers? How many mothers do we have here? Okay, do you have to be patient with your children? Yeah, I tell people you have three choices. Patience, have someone else watch them, right? Or go crazy, is your choice. Now, you guys don't listen to this. Do you have to be patient with your husbands too? So there you see at the top, that's Sukanya and Charvana Muni. Right? So this patience of women, that is Krishna. Among poetry, he is the Gayatri. So the Gayatri is God in the form of a poem. What a nice meditation for those of us who chant Gayatri 3 times a day. Now this is not going to work in the Southern Hemisphere. Yeah. So in the Northern Hemisphere, November, December are harvest months. What's our Gaudiya Vaishnava harvest festival? Govardhan Puja, yes. And then he says he is flower-bearing spring. Spring is the youthful season after the cold and dark winter, right? The warmth, the trees coming out with their new leaves, the flowers blooming, right? The fragrances, the hope, the crops growing, that is Krishna. The gambling of cheats. What a funny one, huh? So usually when you're cheated, you find out afterwards. Like you trust somebody, and then you find your bank account empty. That's actually happened to a couple friends of mine. But gambling is you know right up front that you're going to be cheated. Isn't it? Sit down with your friends, they say, okay, let's get out the cards and I'm going to try to cheat you and you're going to try to cheat me. What a strange form of entertainment. So that kind of cheating is Krishna. That doesn't mean you should gamble, by the way. Of the splendid, I am the splendor. This is the wow factor in everything. Srila Rupa Goswami says that this wow, this adbhutaras, must be present in anything in which we get any pleasure. Anything at all in which we feel any pleasure has some wow factor in it. And that wow factor, that splendor is Krishna. And victory, that feeling we have when we are victorious. Adventure. When we go on an adventure, actually, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about seeing our whole life as an adventure. Now, Krishna said he was the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire, but here he says he's all strength. And in our Bhagavatam section, we quote the verse that says that the demoniac soldiers in the world are the prowess of the Lord. So how is he all strength? What was that question that Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad about strength? Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad about strength, power. Yeah?
Who is giving you the strength?
Yeah. Where do you get your superhuman powers from, Prahlad? What did Prahlad say? From the same place you do. From the same place you do, Father. From Krishna. So even the demons are getting their strength from Krishna. He is punishment to suppress criminals. If we feel safe walking down the streets because the criminals are being punished, that's Krishna. Now this is a really nice one. Of all those who seek victory, I am morality. You know, we don't always win life's battles, isn't it? Some of them we lose. But have you ever had a time when you lost a battle, but you kept your integrity? You lost, but you didn't give up your principles. You didn't give up your integrity. You didn't give up your ethics. Yes, we've all had situations like that. Didn't you feel that it was a kind of victory, even though externally you lost? Yes, that's Krishna. Of secret things, I am silence. Prabhupada writes in Bhagavad Gita 10:38 purport, among the confidential activities of hearing, thinking, and meditating, silence is most important because by silence, one can make progress very quickly. I think many of us are eager to talk to Krishna, but in the silence we can hear him. He is the wisdom, just like he's our intelligence. He's also our wisdom. When we get those real insights, those real realizations, that's Krishna. And here he says he's the seed of everything. Not only of our rice and chapatis, but he's also the seed of our ideas, our projects, our relationships, our jobs. Everything in our life, he's that seed. And this is such a wonderful one. I love meditating on this. How everything that's beautiful and opulent in this world is just a spark of Krishna's splendor. You know, Prabhupada says we're on the lowest of the middle planets. And yet, there's so many glorious, marvelous, and wonderful things here. Imagine how much glory and opulence and splendor there is throughout this universe. And this is just one universe. Wow. And you put all of that together, and it's just a spark of how wonderful Krishna is. So we looked at the 7th, 9th, and 10th chapters, and there's a few in the 15th. The splendor of the sun, the beauty of sunrise, the beauty of sunset, the beauty of full moon, the splendor of the moon, reflecting on the water like diamonds floating on the waves, looking like a pearl in the sky, reminding us of Krishna's romantic pastimes. The splendor of fire. Do y'all like to watch fire? The dancing fire? That splendor of fire is Krishna. How he keeps all the planets in orbit. I was just hearing Prabhupada talk about that this morning. Actually, he talks about it quite a lot. You know, when we're in most vehicles, we can feel the vehicle moving, correct? You feel a car, a bicycle, a plane. Do you feel the earth moving? I don't feel it moving at all. It doesn't seem like we're moving. And we're just like through the universe. That's amazing. What a pilot. He's the moon that gives all the different flavors to all of our vegetables. He's the fire of digestion, right? So yesterday I ate some rice. And today, that rice I ate yesterday has become my nose. Right? The broccoli I ate, it's become my fingernail. How did that happen? How does Krishna's the fire of digestion turn broccoli into fingernails? Amazing. What a thing to meditate on while you eat. And not only that, but Krishna joins with our prana, and he's moving our food from our mouth to our esophagus, to our stomach, to our small intestine, throughout all of our blood vessels, to carry all the nutrition. Here's Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Sarvasya chaham hridisannivisto matasmatir jnanam apohanam cha. This is one of my family's favorite verses. So if anyone ever misplaced anything, lost anything, we'd say, chant 15:15. Mata, I can't find my socks. Well, chant 15:15. Sarvasya chaham hridisannivisto matasmatir jnanam apohanam cha. Krishna, give me remembrance, give me knowledge. And then they find their socks, right? So once I was traveling, and one devotee said, Urmila, I can't find my phone. I said, well, just chant 15:15. So she went around the room saying, 15:15, 15:15. She likes to listen to my classes. And I don't tell anyone who she is, but she enjoys it. All right. Whenever I talk about her. So, and I told you we were going to have a special treat. Oops, this is not the one I want. There we go. Hope you all like that. So that the music is by Mahatma Prabhu, and the music was the video was created by Narada Dasi of ISKCON Soho. Perhaps you recognize the deities there. So if you want to get a copy of that video, it's on Mahatma's YouTube channel. All right, so I'd like to ask you, so what did you pick that you're going to meditate on this next week? What's one thing from this that, yes?
Yeah, what really was about the end. So you can
The Krishna's the end.
Krishna's the end. You can constantly meditate on that, like the end of the day, the end of the commute, the end of your sleep,
Nice.
End of a task. The end of anything, really.
Very nice. I like that. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
I'm the abode.
The abode.
The home, because I've been away for the last 3 weeks.
Oh.
Go on. But yeah, and every day whenever we get home, we can maybe have a picture or painting of it, like a print of it.
I am the abode.
So as soon as you enter the main door, you can see I'm the abode.
Well, we have. Let's see if you can hand me that. Yeah, are any of you familiar with Amala Harinam, the Kirtaner? And his wife Nadia Mani is also a Kirtaner. So she did all of these pictures for us. She like, here's I'm the taste of water. I don't know if she has one from the abode, but the splendor of fire. So each of these, we have just, like 1 or 2 paragraphs for each of them. They go much more deeply than what I talked about here. But, I can just pick one and read a paragraph, and some of these pictures. You could also I told her she should make these prints available. The bodies of water on the ocean. Yeah. And then from the Bhagavatam, got his hairs are the source, the trees are the source of all of his vegetation. And his chest is the goddess of fortune. Okay, so who else? Yes.
Change is inevitable. So we should accept it with grace. That's Krishna transforming.
The Krishna is the time.
Yes.
Yes. Subduers, I am time. In the Bhagavatam section, we have how Krishna's breath is the wind. And think of the wind making changes in our life, and we see that as Krishna's actually breathing through our life through all these changes. Yes. Somebody else.
Basically, you see Krishna in everything.
Oh, pick one.
I'll pick water, because ocean, we get to see a lot of beaches here. So
Oh, you sure do.
see Krishna, when you see the ocean or go to beach.
Yes. See Krishna in the ocean. Excellent. Somebody else. Yes.
Ability in everyone.
Ability. Yes. My ability. Anyone else's ability. Yes. Excellent. Someone else. Well, what part about it? You're going to take the seed. You're going to take the fire of digestion. You're going to take moving the prasadam through. What are you going to take? The grains. Okay. The seed and digestive fire. You're going to take both? And maybe moving with the prana. Okay. So you got 3. And then your ability. And what about the moon giving the juice of life to all the vegetables? And then the heat and fire that changed you got all these meditations when you're eating, isn't it? Isn't that nice? And you're all going to have an opportunity to practice that very soon. Okay, somebody else?
I am the time.
Time. So you've got subduers, I am time, and I am eternal time. Yes, both different, 2 different aspects of time. Time that wears things down and time that's always there. Someone else? Yes?
Krishna is inspiration for all of our ideas.
All of our ideas, yes. Knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness, and the seed of everything, the generating seed of everything. Excellent. Yes?
Krishna is the goal.
The goal. Yes?
Dear friend.
The dear friend. Yes? The air. Yes. Yes, there's a nice one in the Bhagavatam. There's actually a lot in the Bhagavatam section about the air, how Krishna's breath is creating the herbs, his breath is creating all the fragrances and the flowers, how the air we're breathing is actually Krishna's prana. There's so many like that, but he's also the purifying wind. Okay, another one? Yes.
Krishna is father and mother.
Both father and mother. Yeah. Yes. Huh?
Happiness and the sadness
Yes.
and in between.
Happiness and sadness and in between. He's the basis of everything. Krishna is the basis of everything. Our happiness, our sadness, everything that's in between. Krishna is the basis. Excellent. Somebody else.
Patience in women.
Patience in women. Yes. Excellent. He sustains us. He's actually what's sustaining us. Somebody else. Yes.
Creation and annihilation.
Creation and annihilation. Excellent. So every day you can take one per week that you're going to meditate on, or one per day. And we have some, I think we've already sold a bunch of the books, but we have a few more copies here, and I'm happy to sign them for you. And we also have, of course, our Career Dharma book, which this I've been teaching up at the, what do they call it, Bhakti Center?
Bhakti Lounge.
At the Bhakti Lounge. And I've also been teaching this on YouTube. So this is about the Varna part of Varnashram, a little bit about ashram, and how we can find our nature. What is my nature? If you already know what your nature is, you can use it to help your kids or to help others. So the whole first part of the book is how to find my nature. The second part is how to use my nature in a way that enlivens me in devotional service. How to have my livelihood and my sadhana be equally enlivening. How to have my sadhana enliven my work and my work enliven my sadhana. And the third part is, what is an ideal society? We have a chapter on vision for an ideal society. That's how do we have a proper economic and social system. So we do have, again, just a few copies here of this, and our chanting books are sold out. What to do? Anyway, I'm happy to sign these for you. I don't want to stay too long because I have another class tomorrow morning. So if any of you would like one, I'd appreciate it if you would do it sooner rather than later, because I would like to go back a little early. So thank you very, very much. There's a nice Sanskrit verse, and any of you already got a book, I'll sign it for you. So there's a nice Sanskrit verse, which someday I'll memorize the Sanskrit. That's anything good that you found here is from my spiritual master. Anything bad is my responsibility. Please take the good and leave aside the bad. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
So let us thank Mataji, show our gratitude by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra for her. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much, Mataji.